Good morning, y'all. We are live on this Victory Monday for the Atlanta Falcons. We're live on YouTube, but we want to bring in our Facebook groups, Atlanta Falcons fans on all Falcons. Actually, that's the only one I'm going to bring in today. So we'll get going here in just 1 second. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast on a Victory Monday, a chilly Victory Monday in Atlanta. The Falcons have moved to 3-2 after a big win over the Houston Texans. In impressive fashion, I might add. Now, the final score and the final kick may have made this game close. It was definitely close. Not made it close. It was definitely a close game. But in all honesty, the Falcons played really well in this game and dominated in almost every statistical category except for one really important one, which was the turnover margin, which really helped keep this game close. Whereas everything else is pretty much Falcons on this. They needed this win. They got this win. They moved to 3-2. Again, we've talked before, our season prediction for this team was 10-7. I had them at 3-2 after 5, 4-2 after 6. Right now, even though the recency bias, I tend to miss games. Ryan will talk about that in a moment. Ryan Adonis is in here. The preseason look at this, so far we're 5-0. Got a win coming over the Commanders too. We'll see how that one goes. We go live every Monday morning and Wednesday morning for the Falcons podcast because we like saying hello to everyone in here and we like having the interactive chat. One of the folks I want to say hello to is John Harrell. John says, good morning, Scott and Nick. Nick will not be joining us this morning. And the Falcons family, big win. Ridder played well. Defense is awesome. Nate Landman is getting it done. And John puts his money where his mouth is, literally, coming in with a huge super sticker. I appreciate that, John. The support that you show the show means a lot to us, and we certainly appreciate it. So thank you so much. Reminder that the best way to directly support the show that we do and all the content that we provide is with super chats, super stickers on YouTube, and then stars on Facebook. And if you can't do that, no problem. We're here anyway. Make sure you at least hit a like and share. That doesn't cost anything, and it's just a click away. So that's a big help to us as well. So thank you, John. Bubba Gump says the world is pissed because Dez won us the game. I don't know. I think people, for the most part, will want to root for Desmond Ridder. Now, there's some people that will say he hasn't shown enough yet, and frankly, I'm one of those people too. But we'll get into that. Just the Twix version of this, the quick version of this is after last week. I asked Nick point blank. I said, have you seen enough to like pull the plug, throw in the towel? He's like, no. I was like, yeah, me neither. It's too small a sample size. It really, even the whole first year of starting is still too small a sample size. You want to see progression. You want to see goods. You want to see the ability, the possibility out there. And we've seen that. If this becomes a thing where he was holding the team back and costing them victory after victory after victory, then you got to make a change. You owe that to your veterans. But we can get into that a little bit. We'll get into that later as well. John Brooks says Ridder played better and led us to a win. He scored a touchdown and he threw for a touchdown and he led us to a win. I think he got 2 touchdowns on that, didn't he? I thought that little shuffle pass, that one-handed grab from did they not count that as a touchdown? For some reason, I thought he had 2 touchdown throws in that game. I thought he had another one on his swing. Maybe that was the 2-point conversion as I'm seeing guys catch and go into the end zone. But he threw for 1, ran for 1. He led us to the win, but still need to push, still need a pass rush. The D-line played a little better. So did the O-line. The D-line's been playing great this year, John. They absolutely need a pass rusher. I was watching this. C.J. Stroud has had a very good season so far. They had the 4th-ranked passing offense through 4 games, and they haven't exactly played nobodies. They've played the Steelers. They've played the Jaguars. They've played really well. They played the Colts, who are 3-2. This was, I think, the best pass defense they had faced, but still, the Falcons were rushing 4 and not getting any pressure at all. I mean, they're double-teaming Grady Jarrett, and then they're singling up on the other guys, dropping 7 into coverage, and still in the second half, they just put the stranglehold on C.J. Stroud in that passing game. It amazes me how well this defense is playing right now, considering they cannot get any real pressure on the quarterback. I think it's now 5 sacks through 5 games. That's awful. I mean, it's awful. Um, that's not to say there's only one way to win a game. You don't have a pass rush, so figure out different ways to win. But God, a pass rush makes things so easier. They don't have time for that little drag and up route for the tight end that Jesse Bates got beat on. If you've got somebody in the quarterback's face, you can't pull that off. You have to do a max protect to do something like that. And if you do that, maybe you've got another safety back there over the top. But when you're having to rush more guys and put guys closer to the line of scrimmage, it leaves you susceptible to a quick, a sluggo, a slant and go, an out and up, any of those double move type of plays. And Jesse got caught with his hand in the cookie jar on that one. Man, a pass rush ends that. You don't have to worry about that anymore. A&E says, good morning, fellas. Good win. Ridder needs to do that consistently. Not 320 yards, but the efficiency part. Yeah. I mean, he had a phenomenal game. I'm not expecting 330 yards, a rushing touchdown, passing touchdown, all that every single game. But, so far his line chart would be really bad, really good. A little consistency in there, right in between there. And I think things are going to be good. We need someone to start getting home on defense, on sacks. Yeah, I don't know if that guy is there right now. It's just, you've got 2 good interior linemen. You got 3 good interior linemen, because right now Calais Campbell is basically a hold down the fort, run protector, and he's going to have to get a little lucky to get a sack to beat his man. But he's the immovable object out there in rush defense. So who's running against the 3-man front of Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, and Calais Campbell? Really nobody is. And you put 5 guys in there. Lorenzo Carter shows some flashes. Arnold Bacchetti's okay, but none of those guys really scare you. Bud Dupree's been playing really well. He had a key play in the second half, run play to the right side where he just jacked the right tackle 3 yards deep into the backfield. And I think D. Alford, who has been spectacular, by the way, I love D. Alford. Then Bud Dupree knocks his right tackle back into the backfield, and D comes in and cleans it up. And, the camera always goes to the guy that make the tackle. But the analysts, they rightly showed, Bud Dupree made that play. So a lot of good things there on the defense. But, yeah, you need that. Just 1 plus pass rusher. 2 would be nice. 2 would be nice. But 1. And this defense is elite. Because right now, this defense is very good. 1 guy that can put the fear of God into a quarterback anytime he lines up, to have the offensive tackle just shaking in his boots. 1 guy like that on the edge. And this is an elite defense right now. Johnny Phipps, comes in and says, good morning. It's good to wake up to a Falcons victory. Ridder did his thing, and he does have to be consistent, especially on the road. Yeah, that's for sure. Was he 31-0 now as a collegiate and pro quarterback at home? Yeah, feels good at home, that's for sure. Bubba Gump says, Calais has been so damn close to that sack 100. I thought he had it. When he came in, he reached that long old arm at CJ Stroud, but he kind of ducked under it, went away. Thought he had that one for sure. Jacqueline Galloway, great to see you, Jackie. She says, great morning, Falcons fam. That's all, y'all. 100 Realist says, good morning, Nick and Scott. Ryan Adonis is here. I knew he was ready. He says, we ready, several times, actually. He's super happy, too. Good morning, Falcons faithful. I love it. Denver Luke says, good morning, Scott and Nick. Good morning, good morning. Michael Ranquillo is here as well. And before we had gone live, says, good morning, Scott and Nick on the Falcons podcast. And Ryan, I did see this comment before. I had said it, but it's a good call. The drops, the Falcons are trying to have a decent drive going, and was it Jonnu Smith that dropped that one that hit him? Just the play-by-play goes, oh, what a great play by the defender, reaching out and taking that ball away. Man, he wasn't within 3 feet of that. I had him dead in the hands. And this is why, you don't typically criticize other players, because it comes back to you. It does. Dez has had his problems, and Dez got, if Dez is a quarterback and he's catching all the crap, he got, in essence, at times let down by his teammates who fumbled, who dropped passes. You don't see any of that with this kid. And for the most part, you don't see anybody getting on Dez. As the Falcons were behind and posing a comeback, and they didn't have a ton of passing yards at the time, it was kind of going along. I like to read body language. You want to see how effort and attitude. There was a run to the right, and I can't remember if it was Tyler Algier or Bijan. I think it was Tyler Algier. Run to the right. He gets stuffed just short of the line. You expect guys to come in and push. Here come the linemen. They're pushing him, pushing him. You know who else came in behind him? Drake London dropped in behind him. One of the other one, it may have been Mac Hollins, comes in behind him and starts pushing that pile. I don't think Drake had a single target at that point of the game. He had touched the ball once as the quarterback. I don't think he'd even been targeted. If he had been targeted, he hadn't caught a ball yet at that point. He drops back in there to push the pile. The phrase y'all have heard me say before, you can't tell if someone's got, the old phrase is, you can't measure someone's heart. I always say, yes, that's true, but you can tell if someone's got it or not. Who are they playing for? How is their effort and attitude? Watch them when they do not have the ball. Drake London, a prima donna wide receiver, he's not, just prima donna wide receiver, drops back, who hasn't been getting the ball. Throw me the damn ball, Keyshawn. Comes back and helps push a pile to get a crucial first down. That's what this team's all about. When Arthur Smith says we've got the right guys, that's the kind of thing he is talking about. One of the things I noticed that I put out on Twix during the game was Kyle Pitts has a big old leg wrap on one. I think it's his left leg. Those black pants were a little sheer at times, and you could see a big leg wrap around his upper leg. It was thigh/hamstring. We don't know how much that has been affecting him, but they don't put those on there for nothing. So hopefully he's okay and he's working through. You always hear Arthur Smith say he's working through some things. I think that's one of the things he's working through is possibly an upper leg injury. And muscle injuries follow knee injuries like remoras on sharks. You just, even through rehab and through playing, there's certain things that atrophy, and you end up having strains all the time after knee surgery as you're working your way back into it. So hopefully he is getting more and more healthy. Makey Fumble is here. He says we finally used Pitts. Yeah, he was a big part of this game. Good targets. And I think, as John said, that Drake catch was really nice. We mentioned that last week when we said the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to just throw 8-9 guys in the box and force you to pass. You got to hit some of those. You got to hit some of those one-on-one shots. My receiver 6'5", your corner isn't. Let's see if you can and make those. But the other thing I noticed about Desmond Ridder, someone had asked, and I saw the question, what was the biggest difference? I didn't get to watch the game. What was the biggest difference? The biggest difference for me was just his comfort level. You can start with protection. The protection was better, but he was so much more calm and poised in the pocket. I'd see his eyes go across the field and throw. That hasn't happened so far this year. He'd lock on one guy, get nervous, take a sack, not come off his first read, or he looked so uncomfortable. He looked comfortable. He looked poised. He looked confident. He's got the arm. He's got good feet. He's got some speed. He's got the athleticism. He's got the tools, experience, comfort, trust, all of those things that start coming together. They all showed up yesterday in the win. Harry Marshall Wood said play calling this week was the difference. You get the feeling that Arthur Smith wanted to come out with some of that razzle-dazzle on the first drive as he goes with like a double reverse and then a double reverse pass that actually helped lead to the first touchdown on the second drive. You feel like he wanted to do that on the first drive, but all of a sudden penalty and the Falcons are starting on their own 10-yard line again. It's hard to do some of that stuff when you're in the shadow of your own goalposts. So he had talked about wanting to start faster. How do you do some of those things? Have a little fun, throw a little route, get the crowd into it. I think that was scripted, and it was probably for the first drive, but their field position was so poor they scrapped it and went to the second drive. Big Ant says, good morning, Scott, and everyone in the chat. Good morning. Michael Dubbs here as well. Roger Cook says, Pitt slowly returning to fitness was a serious injury. Yes, it was. And part of that's mental too. And then, as I mentioned, anything that's involving if it's muscular at all, he had a big wrap on his leg. So something to watch out for as we move forward through this week and stuff. OTS June, good to see you. That feels like a newer name. It says, I like what we did. Just need to see them get their game together when we play on the road. The other part of that, y'all, the two teams you played on the road are freaking good. We said at the beginning that the two hardest games you may have all year, I'm going to come off of that a little bit because there's some teams that look better, including the Houston Texans that we weren't expecting to. But on paper at the beginning, your two hardest games might be those two games on the road. Jacksonville Jaguars are good. They're an AFC contender. The Detroit Lions are going to be a force to be reckoned with. They lost one they should have won against Seattle. That's the only game they lost. So those two teams are really good teams on the road. Now, again, you want to look better, but did you see what the Jacksonville Jaguars defense did to the Bills for about 3 quarters and Josh Allen? I put out there on Twix, I said, they're suffocating a Buffalo Bills defense that's considered to be, eons better than the Atlanta Falcons. And that wasn't a shot at the Jaguars or people who thought that at the Bills or people who think that the Bills, I was giving props to the Jacksonville Jaguars, not cutting on the Bills for not being good enough or making fun of anybody else saying, see, the Falcons defense. No. The only thing I want to say, my only conclusion for the last 8 games that I saw is the Jacksonville Jaguars are good. The Detroit Lions this year are good. The Washington Commanders, not so good. They've played some tough. They've played some really bad. It's a game you need to win. We'll get into that one on Wednesday. That's another game you need to win. We called this one a semi must-win game. This was an inflection point for the season. Now, you've proven that you're not awful. You beat a good Houston team. You're 3-2. You're 3-2. Beaten Green Bay. Everybody's beaten Carolina. But you've taken care of the games that you're supposed to win. You have. Here's another one. Okay? You want to be a playoff team? Win the games you're supposed to win and then sneak one out later and you're going to be 10-7, 11-6. Let's see. Sean Edwards asked the video frozen. I hope not. It's going okay on my end, but I haven't checked down at the bottom here. I should probably do that to check. Michael Dubb, good to see. He says, love Desmond response to all the haters. He stepped up and showed he's a work in progress with a big upside. He needs at least the 2023 season under his belt. Give the young man time. And Michael, I understand this. And I've said the same thing, really. You really won't even know what you have until even year 2 of someone starting when you're talking about a sample size. And even then, he could go off somewhere and Ryan Tannehill this thing in year 6 of his contract or of his professional career. The thing is you can't sacrifice the whole season and all of the veterans and all of the fans and everything if Ridder is just playing horribly. And he played pretty poor on the road. Like I just got done saying, 2 really good teams, but he'll be the first to admit he didn't have good games. He got a little lucky against the Packers with a couple of dropped interceptions. He hasn't been playing well. That doesn't mean he can't. As we've said, as Arthur Smith said, if you hadn't seen it before and know it was in there, then you'd be really worried. We have. He had regressed. Teams have gotten better. There's more urgency in week 3 and 4 than there is in week 16 and 17 that he played. But yeah, Ridder is played really, really well this week. Again, do we expect that level every week? Not yet, but we don't expect the low lows either. Let's see some consistency. It's a good comment. As Jason said, Ridder got penalties on the D with the hard counts. And he also tackled on that fumble return. Yeah, he's a ball player. I couldn't believe how many times they jumped. I was like, it's an easy 1st and 5. And I'm like, okay, now stop doing it because you might need it later. They might catch on to this and correct. I'm like, you have 4 in the first half. Stop the hard count. Stop it. Because you might need it in the 4th quarter on your final drive or when you really need it. Then you bring it back out. Then when it's 4th and 1 or it's 3rd and 2 and you've got a crucial conversion, then bring the hard count back out. But yeah, that was pretty amazing. Bubba Gump says the defense is fire. I'm impressed as hell with this defense. I really am. Normally, I mean, y'all are Falcons fans. You know what you've been watching for your whole lives. If you don't get pressure on the quarterback, it's a 20-yard completion. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, throw, complete. Damn it. Get some pressure on that guy. In this case, They were hemming CJ Stroud in. They weren't getting to him, but they were locking up on the back end of it. And that was not something that we're used to seeing, frankly. And like I said, I think CJ Stroud has set a couple of records. His first 4 games with the most yards. If it's not a record, it's close. The most throws without an interception to begin a career. That one he did set. He's been playing great. He's been playing really, really well. Let me see here. Sean Stassi comes in. He says maybe a trade for I always get this name. It looks like Danielle to me, but Hunter, edge, Vikings. Vikings dropped to 1-4. That'd be nice. The lack of production from Chase Young scares me a little bit. You might want to pull a money ball. Wouldn't that be funny? Say with Chase Young, send him our way and tell him I don't want him playing against us today. With a trade for Chase Young, you're already in Atlanta. Why don't make it happen? But his lack of productivity scares me a little bit. So I don't know if that's the right way to go. Ryan Adonis, as I say, we do a blockbuster trade and get Brian Burns and Derek Brown. It'd be tough to pull off in division. It'd be expensive. Brian Burns would be a really good pick for this team. For sure. This is kind of when we're talking about why you can't just go with just build a team around a quarterback and let him develop. They're wasting their best years on the Panthers because you've got guys. You're not bringing in Calais Campbell on a 1-year deal. You're not able to sign Jesse Bates and David Onyemata and those guys. You can't look at Grady Jarrett and say, hey, we're going to flush the season down the toilet while we get Ridder ready for 2024. You can't do that. So these guys who have their clocks are ticking, their NFL career clocks are ticking, look around and say, man, I got to go play someplace I can win. Let me see here. Jordan Brown says, good morning, guys. Good to see you, Jordan. Good morning, guys. Love to see the stats from the game. Let's hope we can keep it going. Not a perfect game, but definitely the most complete game we've played. Yeah, if you look at overall team stats, they lean really heavily towards the Atlanta Falcons. We've seen games when this hasn't, when they've played fairly clean, but not very well. They're dominated in the stats. I think the Packers had them pretty well in most of the stats. First downs, 26-17. Running first downs, 8-3. Third down efficiency, 4 for 13 for the Texans, 7 for 14. 50%. I'll take 50% for the Falcons. Total plays, 74-58. That's nice. That's how you get guys more touches. Remember us talking about that? You stop running 50 plays a game and you stop complaining about getting guys touches. You get 74 plays, you spread the ball around a little bit more. Total yards, 447-313. Nice. This was, again, the number 4 passing offense in the NFL going into the week. Yards per play, 6 versus 5.4. Passing yards, 351-249. All very, very good. Rushing, 96-64. The big one and the one that really cost this team, again, was the turnovers, was 2-0. You lose 2 turnovers in the second half of a close game and still win, you've got to dominate that team. And they did. They absolutely did. Rose Stacks says, good morning. Great victory Monday. Edward Brown comes in. He says, great composure by Dez on the game-winning drive, seemed in command all day. If he can transfer that composure to the road, I think he'll be okay. I've mentioned before, y'all, one of the ways I always judge quarterbacks is how do they make you feel when they've got the ball with 90 seconds left in the game? I'm an 80s kid. I grew up with Joe Montana. If Joe Montana had the ball with 2 minutes left in the ball, the game was over in a 1-score game. It was over. That's why, for me, again, I'm biased. It's hard for me to knock off the top one. He's etched in stone, kind of as my all-time greatest quarterback of all time. That has to do with, my age and era and who I watched as much as anything. There's other great quarterbacks too. I'm not going to argue with you if you were to say Tom Brady or some other guys that are equally deserving of that. But for me, it was Joe Montana, because Joe Montana, if you had the ball, it was freaking over. Des Ridder felt pretty good. I really did. They're at home. Des looks at control. He's had some nice drives in the second half. of this game, I felt pretty good about it. I really did. That's a good start. It's a hopefully it's a launching point where the super lows from Desmond Ridder are gone. They don't have to all be at this peak, at a super high. A couple more touchdowns would be nice, but I'm not expecting 330 yards and 4 touchdowns a game. But 250 and 2, we should come to start expecting that on a fairly regular basis. Yeah, and Harry says he was a couple of drop passes for almost 400 yards passing. I don't know that they want to pass for 400, but if you've got that in your locker, you're going to rush for a whole lot more too. If you're able to say, fine, we'll just beat you. We drafted these guys this high for a reason. And Drake London and Kyle Pitts. And by the way, Jonnu Smith's pretty damn good. Matt Collins will bring Scotty Miller out there every once in a while. Kadarius Hodge has a nice play. Oh, and by the way, if you ignore Keith Smith, we'll just run him up the seam on a little circle route, and we'll go for 40 yards up the seam on him too. That's going to, and as Jordan Brown just said, as I'm coming down the chat here, he says that throw to Keith Smith was filthy. That's a great play. That's absolutely a great play. Bobby Carter comes in. He says, great morning, Scott. Good morning to you as well, Bobby Carter. Good to see you. Albert Molina says, Scott, what grade do you give Arthur Smith play calling? I think it's a B so far. Every once in a while you're gonna be able to predict a play, where it's going and all that kind of stuff. But you also have to trust your guys to make a play sometimes also. If I see 9 guys stacked in the box and they're running rush blitzes all the time and it's 1st and 10, okay, well, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I might not go play action in that case, because if they're blitzing and by the time I get out of a play action, I'm crushed. I want to fire a coach immediately. Y'all ever watch, pay attention, in a 2-minute drill or on 3rd and long, when a quarterback runs play action, I want to fire the coach. Just fire him. Because if I'm the defensive coordinator, so y'all, they got 60 seconds. They're on their own 20. If you don't rush the quarterback, if you bite on the play action, I'm going to bench you. Just you're benched. And we've seen it. It's such a part of their game. It's like, oh, fake the handoff. It's 3rd and 18. Don't fake the handoff. These guys are coming with their ears pinned back. You just cost your quarterback a second of being able to read down the field. I digress. But I think Alberto, and overall, I judge Arthur Smith not necessarily so much on the play calling, but on the overall direction of the team. And I've been an Arthur Smith fan. The 2021s, anybody that criticizes the Falcons for being in 7 and 10 and 7 and 10 and 20 and 21 and 22 in his first 2 seasons, they're not paying attention to the obstacles that the Falcons faced. It's just, if you're here, you have been, you understand the cap hell, the cap crisis that they went on. Last year they're on the field with 60% of their available players with salary cap money. 60%, 40% is tied up in money that they're paying to play someplace else. You can't expect to win more than 7 games like that. Joe Cannon, good to see you, Joe. He says, notable shout-outs to Storm Norton and Jeffrey Okudah. Jeff has looked good since he's been back, and Storm has really stepped up in his pass protection yesterday. Yeah, hopefully Caleb will be good. I'd say will be healthy. That's a very good late signing on Storm Norton to go and get him, as you have lost several of your swing tackles that you signed from the spring until now. That's very good job from the scouting department and Terry Fontenot, general manager Terry Fontenot, to get that done. And again, coming up, the bend but don't break philosophy of this team can be frustrating at times, but they got enough 3 and outs to get the ball in the hands of the quarterback. But the 3 points, and not 7 and 7. The defense was just really, really good. And Brad says, I owe Ridder an apology. I loved what I seen from him yesterday. And apologies if you were overly harsh. I was critical of Desmond Ridder last week, the week before, because he didn't play very well. We expect more from him. He expects more from himself. And if he's going to be a quarterback of this team on the long term, he needs to play better. He did. Now let's do it again. From my point of view, it's eliminate the super lows. You're going to have a bad game. You see Josh Allen go throw a 4 turnover game every once in a while. That happens. That should be an anomaly. It shouldn't be, okay, you had 140 yards passing and an interception. in week 2, week 5, week 7, week 9, week 12. That should be gone. That's got to go away if this team's going to reach its goals. Big step. Big step. Another home game. We talked about doing it on the road. That's fine. They don't have to yet. Got to beat the Commanders. We're just about out of here. We go pretty quick on Mondays. Just kind of a quick reaction to the team. And again, I was impressed. I saw someone actually respond to me saying, it was the Houston Texans. Dude, you haven't been paying attention. The Houston Texans are a solid squad. They are coming off wins against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Check out their record and some of the teams they've beaten, including the Falcons. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just came back from a 10-0 deficit to beat the Ravens. The Steelers are always legit. They haven't had a losing season, since before my kids were born. That's 2 wins in a row. One of those was on the road. The Texans are a up-and-coming team that was playing with confidence and a hot quarterback. Beating that team was no joke. It's a good win. It's a really good win. Now I got to stack them. Back to back to back. Got to stack them. Ryan says, as I'm getting out of here, if you want to see how the other side's living, you can follow me over to youtube.com/milehighhuddle because I'm about to do some Broncos for breakfast, and I'm going to do it on my own this morning. So it'll be another solo show. And basically, it's going to be a buy-sell type of podcast where I'm just going to kind of go through and say, okay, this guy should be gone. This guy has a future with the team. This guy should be gone. They need to vent. So that's where we're heading, going over that direction. Michael says, looking forward to the Commanders game. Hopefully Ridder to build on yesterday. Absolutely rise up. And Brian Chambers throws a rise up as well. But I'm going to get out of here. Join us back. If you want to talk some more football, I'm heading over to Mile High Huddle in just a couple of minutes. And otherwise, we'll be back Wednesday for the full show. We'll go the full hour plus on Wednesday as we look over all the good that's happened, some of the things that might concern us, if there's any injury news that comes out, and looking forward to a Commanders team and a Falcons team that could go 2 games over 500, 4-2 after 6 games again. Thank you for being here, everybody. A special shout out to my man, John Harold, who came in with a super sticker for the support. Thank you, sir. It means the world to us. On that note, I'm out of here. I'll see you Wednesday. Appreciate you being here. Y'all have a great week.